Hi everybody, welcome to our second recruiting SwampCast. I'm Robbie Andreu, the beat writer for the Gainesville Sun and Gatorsports.com, and with me Graham Hall, our resident recruiting expert who's been running around like a crazy man trying to nail things down here at the end. But Graham, finally National Signing Day is right around the corner now, a few days away, and you know, Florida did a great job on the early signing period. Now they have a chance to close out pretty good.
Yeah, about 9 spots left in this class. They signed 13 in the first window. 2 transfers will make up the 25. Florida really is kind of in the mix for more prospects than they really have room for right now, which is always a good problem to have. This weekend, 6 official visitors come into town. Some guys who were in the mix with the class before in Jacob Copeland, JUCO, 2 offensive linemen who have had their eyes on Florida, and 2 names who have really kind of picked up here in the last week. So it's kind of been a lot of Dan Mullen, guys that are familiar with him, and some guys who have been in the mix all along for Florida. And Florida really is finishing a lot stronger than a lot of other SEC schools and in-state programs. That's really the big picture.
Yeah, and Graham, 2 things I think Mullen and his staff have really done a good job of is expanding their board, getting more guys interested, and then going ahead and getting offers out to 2019, 2020. So they're building for the future as well as for next week. So I think they've done a great job of getting the brand out there and selling people on Florida.
Yeah, they've been able to prioritize some of these 2019, 2020 kids, establish kind of a pipeline that really hadn't been there in some of those South Florida schools. And a school like St. Thomas Aquinas and American Heritage, so many prospects come out of that school every year that you have to get.
You want to get involved there. You do.
Early in for those kids as well, or else you're not going to really have a shot to compete with the likes of Miami and Florida State. So Mullen and his coaching staff really understand that, which is the big thing, that you have to get in early, because that's one of the benefits of being in the mix with so many of these guys, is that they can kind of ease up on the trail a little bit and take a few less in-home visits, down the stretch compared to the likes of like FSU and stuff like that. So really Florida's in the mix for the long term right now, and they're going to finish strong right now before signing day. Yeah,
and the final visit weekend, Jacob Copeland to me is the most intriguing guy, that the former commit that's gone back and forth and showing a lot of love for other schools, but you got to think, final visit, Florida's got him.
Yeah, you always like to think that when a prospect's taking their final visit to a school, that's really where they want to end up.
Especially when he had been a commitment and has always liked Florida. So
he's always been a Florida fan growing up. He just was really unsure of whenever the coaching change happens. But Billy Gonzalez, I think you have to credit him a lot, going in home and showing him how exactly they think they're going to use him. That was the biggest selling point for him. And from what I've been told, he wasn't really overly impressed with his official visit last weekend to Alabama.
That's good, because he was showing a lot of love.
Yeah, he shows a lot of love on social media for Alabama, but he really isn't too high on what they can offer him, because they're loaded at wide receiver, and he thinks there's an opportunity for him to step in and play at Florida. I fully expect him to sign with Florida next week, but he's enjoying his recruitment. So anyone out there who thinks that tweeting him or sending him Facebook messages is the best thing to do,
don't do it.
Just let him enjoy his moment. They've worked their entire life for this, and he'll know by the end of the weekend where he wants to go, and it's his decision. And I really think that if you're a Florida fan, you just got to hold out and hope that he signs on Wednesday.
Yeah. Graham, another intriguing prospect that was here last weekend, Malcolm Lamar, who had committed to Willie Taggart at Oregon. Tell me about him. It's kind of unfolding in Florida's favor, it appears to be.
Yeah, Florida wasn't really in the mix for him under Jim McElwain. He had been committed to Willie Taggart when Taggart was out at Oregon, was willing to go 3,000 miles away, but from what I've been told, that relationship has kind of soured in recent weeks. He took an official visit to FSU back in December, right when Taggart got back there, and it really is really kind of eased off a little bit. He was supposed to take an unofficial visit this weekend to FSU, but from what I've been told, he has canceled that visit. Mullen went in home with him today, or is going in home with him later today, and that's going to kind of seal the deal for him. I think that they're going to take him in this class. He has a little bit of work to do once he gets into a college weight program, but his upside is enormous. I think that.
Well, we know he's getting into a great weight program if he does come here, based on what we're hearing. So that's a good thing.
And the 2 other guys, Fabian Lovett, another defensive end, and Glenn Beal, a tight end from New Orleans, who really wasn't in the mix the last few years. You look at how Florida already signed 2 tight ends, and you wonder if that's really the move they want to go in. But this is a guy who's 6'5", big body, more of a blocking tight end, can play on both sides of the line. I think that this is a guy who they're going to get kind of with the last spot in the class if he's taken. But it's definitely a good problem to have so many people that are in the mix to be signed in this class.
Yeah, and he has a great offer list, Graham. I mean, if you want to know what kind of prospect he is, look at his offer list. That'll tell you a lot.
I think he's definitely an underrated prospect. And Fabian Lovett is the guy who was very, very familiar with Mullen when Mullen was at Mississippi State. He may go to Ole Miss, but I think that Florida's in the good mix for him if they really want him. Those 6 guys with Will Barnes and Ed Montelis, I think that Florida has a great list coming in this week, and I really expect them to finish strong. I think that we're looking at a top 10 class here.
What about Patek Ferrari, who visited last weekend? I guess Ohio State this weekend. he's been real quiet, but if Florida pulls him, it's huge.
Very hard kid to read. It could be Ohio State. It could be Notre Dame. It could be Florida. It's really hard to read what exactly he's looking for. He's looking for a great academic situation, which makes me think it's not going to be Alabama. But I think Florida getting the only in-home visit is huge for them. They're really confident about their chances. But just in case, they've taken Griffin McDowell, who's a great prospect.
Yeah,
they're taking many offensive linemen that they hope are kind of contingency plans. Hopefully they get Richard Garage. But I think that if they don't get him, they did everything they could. He's just a kid who was looking for something different. He
still listed a Florida commitment, so we'll see what happens on signing day. But Graham, like you said, possible top 10 class, which would be a great transition class for Mullen this staff.
Absolutely. I think that if you look back at the history of transition classes, it's very hard to close well on the trail. But Mullen, being a guy who has already coached in the SEC, has had success at Florida, I think those factors certainly helped. But already you have to be appreciative of what they've done on the road already.
Well, that'll do it for today. Good SwampCast. We'll have another one on signing day, so look for us then. But I'm Robbie Andreu with Graham Hall from the Gainesville Sun, GatorSports.com, and we'll talk to you next week.